Kunja Gopi Jana Ballava Girivardhari Gopi Jana Ballava Girivardhari Jaya Gopi Jana Ballava Girivardhari Jaya Gopi Jana Ballava Girivardhari Yashodanandana Rajitana Ranjana Yashodanandana Rajitana Yashodanandana Rajitana Ranjana Yashodanandana Rajitana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Kunja Bihari Sitaram 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 Jaya Sitaram 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 Jaya Sitaram Sitaram Jaya Sitaram Sitaram Jaya Sitaram 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 Jaya Sitaram Raghupati Radha Radha Patita Pavanam Sitaram Raghupati Radha Patita Pavanam Sitaram Raghupati Raghava Rajaram Patita Pavana Sitaram Raghupati Raghava Rajaram Patita Pavana Sitaram Lakshman Hanuman Sitaram Lakshman Hanuman Sitaram 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 Jaya Sitaram Jai Om Vishnu Pada Paramahamsa Parivara Sata Shri Sri Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Shri Prabhupada Ki Gaura Premanande Shri Ram Navami Ki Jai Shri Ramchandra Bhagavan Ki Jai Gaura Premanande Haribo Hare Krishna Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Shrimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Namaste Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pacharya Nirvasesha Srinivadi Pastacharya Shatari. So, Hare Krishna, everyone. The devotees are happy to be back here in transcendental abode of Shri Shri Radha, Londonishwar, Jagannath Baladev Subhadra Shri Shri Gauritai here in London after many, many years. With the COVID, etc. And on this very auspicious day of Navami. Now, how will I connect this to the screen? That's the question mark. Any experts here? I mean, normally I put a little plug in here and a wire goes out somewhere, but I don't have the plug. It disappeared on a journey somewhere. Otherwise you can do Bluetooth if you know how to do Bluetooth. I don't know how you do this thing. Om Jnana Timirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshura-militam yena tasmai Shri Gurave Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sapitam yena bhutale Svayam Rupa Katamayam Tadati Shvapadanti Namo Om Shri Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namane Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pacharya Nirvasesha Sannivadi Pastacharya Shatari Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Jai Shri Prabhupada. Hare Krishna. So we're just waiting to see what happens here. In the meantime, I don't know if you can do two things at once. You could chant a verse in the meantime, which you could put on the board. Well, this is great. You've got something on the board. Absolute magic. These magical days, these festival days are so special. Of course, many of you are from Indian descent, Indian origin, and Navami is a very significant festival for all those born in India, Hindus, etc. But it's also very significant in our own ISKCON Krishna consciousness movement. Although generally we worship Radha-Krishna, Jagannath and so on, but in the manner today I'll be having that's my phone. I have to give this to someone. Can you put it on airport mode, airplane, something like that? The manner today they'll be having a big festival, and you've chosen to come here. They'll be having Abhishek of Lord Ram today. As we know, it's in ISKCON, the manor, I don't know, maybe it wasn't the first, I'm not sure, but certainly one of the first temples in ISKCON where Sita, Ram, Lakshman, Hanuman deities were installed back in the late 70s. Very special, because especially amongst many of you maybe from Gujarati origins also, and for the Gujaratis particularly, and South Indians, worship of Lord Ramchandra is very this very holy day of Ramayana, Sri Navami, the account of Lord Ramchandra's Sri Radha-Krishna, etc. is wonderful accounts, and most of you will have read the Ramayana, I would imagine. Has everybody come across Ramayana? Anybody read the Ramayana? We have several versions available. Anyone read? Not so many. Not so many. We have Krishna Dharma Prabhu's beautifully written version or presentation of Ramayana, and others also who've presented the Ramayana over the decades of our movement. It's very sweet. Everybody can't deny. I first read Ramayana in 1971 when I was I was doing my last few months of my degree, my final months, and the friend I was living in, the apartment, gave me the Ramayana. He just came back from India, and he, amongst other things, he would give me books of India, and one was the Ramayana. Said, "You should read this book," he said. I don't think he ever read it, but he told me I should read it. And it's amazing, magnetic. This was not written maybe by a pure devotee of the Lord, but nonetheless the message of Ram and Ramayana came through so strongly that I think that's the first time in my life I read a book which really resonated in my heart so much. I was overwhelmed in reading this Ramayana. I'd read the Mahabharata already, and Ramayana was very, what can you say, so heart-rending, so touching. It purifies. These pastimes, as we'll see in a minute, they purify our hearts. So we've just come from France. Some of you know where France is, maybe. There's some islands off the coast of England somewhere. Europe, they call it Europe, isn't it? Some little islands out there. Some little places called France. So we've just come from France, and we drove over a day or two ago, and it's still a little bit run down from. We had a wonderful festival with Vaisheshika, Kuru and Sutapa and Havi and others, and it's very wonderful. So now we are very fortunate to remember Lord Ramchandra. And we'll chant a verse first, I think. Let's see. 9, Canto, A Dynasty of Amsterdam. What a beautiful version. It's the pastimes of Lord Ramchandra. Okay. Probably in this chapter. Maybe the next chapter. Chapter 11. I don't know if you can put it on the board or not. And then go back to what you see now. 9th chapter, text 11, and we just read 23. 9, 11, 23. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Is it on the board?
Yes.
Purushaha Ramacharitam Shravanair Upadarayan Anrishangsha. That's an interesting word, isn't it? Where is that broken down? It's not. Angrishangsha Paraha Rajan Karma Bandai Vimuchate Puru Purusho Ramacharitam Shavanarupadarayan Anrishangsya Parorajan Karma Bandhair Vimuchyate Purusho Ramacharitam Shravanarupadarayan Andrishangsya Parorajan Karma Bandhair Vimuchyate
Purusho Ramacharitam Shravanarupadarayan Andrishangsya Parorajan Karma Bandhair Vimuchyate
Purusho Ramacharitam Bhavane Upadarayan Vishamsha Parorajan Bande Vimuchyate.
Ladies.
Purusho Ramacharitam Shravanarupadarayan Anvishamsya Parorajan Karma Bandhe Vimuchyate Purusho Ramacharitam Shravanarupadarayan Vishamsya Parorajan
Any young ones under 16?
Purusho Ramacharitam Shravanarupadarayan Andrishamsha Parorajan Karma Bandhar Vimuchyate
Chintamani, Hare Krishna. Jai. Purushaha, any person, Ramacharitam, the narration concerning the activities of Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Ramachandra, Shravanai, by oral reception, Upadarayan, simply by this process of hearing. Ang Andrishangsya Paraha becomes completely free from envy. Rajan, O Parikshit. Karma Bandhai, by the bondage of fruitive activities. Vimuchyate, one becomes liberated. Anybody like to become free of envy? One or two, not many. This is a powerful process given here by Shukadeva Goswami in his summary. As you may know, Shukadeva Goswami said to Parikshit, "You have heard this Rama pastimes of Lord Ramchandra many times, and many of you may know, just like when we were kiddies, we heard about Pinocchio and Mickey Mouse and what other children's rhymes and children's stories. And in India, the grandmother will be reading or talking Ramayana, pastimes of Lord Ram to the little kiddies. So right from birth, practically speaking, one is exposed is part of your consciousness to Lord Ramchandra and his amazing pastimes. In many ways, they're a little easier for many people to relate to. They're totally transcendental. It's not that Lord Ram comes into this world assuming a material form. He's told all of his pastimes are transcendental. He himself is transcendental, although it may be a little easier to relate to because Lord Ramchandra came particularly in this world, and we hear a lot now Ram Raj, the ideal leadership of Lord Ramchandra, and sometimes Indian politicians talk about Ram Raj, but they don't know what it is, practically speaking. It's more than just you could say, a material arrangement. Even that's not there, but it's a transcendental factor. It's not material. All of Lord Ram's pastimes, and they cannot be understood at Shri Krishna Namadina Bhava Graham Indriya. With our material senses, we cannot understand the transcendental nature of these pastimes. We try to equate them to our own experiences, or maybe we try to implement to some degree. Of course, that may be there, but it doesn't work like that. It's based on transcendental, spiritual factors, and this people are not aware of, and even if they're aware of it, they're not able to. They're not pure enough to be able to perceive or understand or be an instrument, we could say, for the Lord's hand to work through us. It's not to do with material intellect. The Ram Raj is based on, of course there's Varnashram and there's Vedic morality and standard, which Lord Ram himself personally demonstrated for the sake of conditioned souls. We have a tendency to degrade, to weak, especially in Kali Yuga, become very weak, and when there's no spiritual leadership, or weak spiritual leadership, and no effective administration following spiritual leadership, society degrades, as we see nowadays, based upon pretty much material considerations, economic and sensual considerations, and we make our own rules and so on and so forth. But all this is of no value in the purpose of human life. Lord Ramchandra established morals, values, the ideal behavior, ideal son, ideal brother, ideal husband, ideal father, ideal leader. In every respect, Lord Ramchandra is showing an ideal example. In many ways more relevant to conditioned souls. Lord Krishna is even more transcendental, you could say. People have even harder time understanding that, the Supreme Personality of Godhead comes into this world and he marries lots of girls, ladies, and he has lots of girlfriends. And this is quite bewildering to people. And he does all kinds of things. He doesn't always behave in a way which can be replicated by conditioned souls. He likes to steal things sometimes, and all sorts of things, and all sorts of stuff. It's quite difficult to understand. Very hard for people to understand the transcendental nature of Godhead. But one thing is for sure, if we hear the subject Nivitashi Bhagimana Bhavushiti Chotamano Bilamat Kutama Shloka Ganana Badat, if we hear from the right source the subject matters of the personality of Godhead or spoken by him, then our hearts become cleansed. We become freed of the cause of our inability to conceive or understand these pastimes, this false identity, or identifying ourselves with the body, and so on and so forth. But by hearing, then Oshiti Bhavushiti, one becomes cured of this illusion which causes birth and death. It's the medicinal process to hear Krishna Katha, or Ram Katha in this case. This is the same thing, just a different flavor. Of course, there are different, you could say, results obtained, but the basic results are the same, because first we have to get out of the illusion. So by hearing Ram Katha, Lord Chaitanya used to relish hearing Lord Nrsingadev and so on and so forth, to release us from the illusion which we're presently in. It's all very well saying, well, I'm not really interested, I'm a devotee of Krishna, but we're really a devotee of our senses, and to get free of that, one has to hear attentively Krishna Katha from the right source. This Yada Najasanai Tukama Granthi Bandavan Chindanti Das Dasya Kona Kataratim. And this is the methodology that one should hear about the personality of Godhead. And karma bandha, the same word is mentioned here. One becomes released from karma bandha, or the knot of material attraction, by hearing about the messages of the personality of Godhead. This is the method. So let us hear the verse and purport. We read it. Did we read the verse already?
No.
Okay, let's read the verse and purport. O King Parikshit, anyone who orally receives the narrations concerning the characteristics of Lord Ramchandra's pastimes will ultimately be free from the disease of envy, and thus be liberated from the bondage of fruitive activities. What does envy mean? Isn't there some kind of computer called envy or something? An electronic device? What does it mean in reality? What does envy mean? Yes.
When you're happy, I'm unhappy, and when you're sad, I'm happy.
Really? When I'm happy, you're unhappy. So you must be very happy right now. Happy to see me unhappy, huh? I'm miserable. I'm very miserable, morose. Yeah, I like to see people miserable. Makes me feel good. Eh? I like to see people suffering. This is one of the, you could say, the effects of having an envious mentality, with a practical understanding. Yes, envy. Can we give an example in the pastimes of Ramachandra of somebody who was envious? Mantara? Mantara, okay. Yeah, she was envious too. They had mixed emotions, but he was very envious. Pardon? What you mentioned already, mixed. Who? Ravana. Ravana. He was envious? He couldn't tolerate someone else enjoying something which he didn't, He wanted to enjoy. The amazing thing about Ramayana, we hear about, for instance, it appears that Lord Ramchandra had almost a material reaction in relationship to Sita Devi in some cases. Lamentation, tremendous. I mean, after she was, another subject, but after she appeared to be kidnapped by Ravana, Ramchandra's reaction was, you could say, was that more or less of an ordinary conditioned soul. Henpecked husband, sometimes people would say. Yeah, quite something. But of course that's transcendental. And Ravana couldn't stand, he couldn't bear this. Really, personification, practically speaking, of enviousness, Ravana. Sometimes they use the word ravenous. Have you heard this word, ravenous? What does ravenous mean? Ravenous. You heard that word?
Very hungry.
It can be, especially it refers to hunger. You're raging hunger, you can't control your senses. It can be applied to other objects too, but it's usually applied to food. I'm very ravenous. I could eat an elephant. We don't eat elephants, but you sometimes think like that. Tremendous. So he was, I don't know if it comes from Ravana, but he was very ravenous. He couldn't tolerate any woman, he just wanted to enjoy it. enjoyment. Like the divine and demoniac nature. Every demoniac person is seeing everything as an object of my enjoyment. And Ravana was a bit like that. And he was, anyway, it's a long story. How much time we'll have to, we don't have much time to go into that subject matter. But Lord Ramchandra's pastimes with Sita are not at all material. And if you see that, a little bit people can relate with it. But even if you do somehow or another hear these pastimes, the amazing thing is one can become cleansed or purified of that mundane understanding. If we hear from the right source, one can become purified of the tendency to think that my wife belongs to me, this is mine, I'm the enjoyer, and so on. I'm the proprietor. These are all effectual results of being envious of Krishna. As if we think with the body, that we may not be consciously thinking I'm envious of Krishna, but it's a result of being envious of Krishna. Or if we think this is my money, my house, my property. And we see the whole thread in the Ramayana basically is based on returning Sita, isn't it? Not the whole Ramayana, but a large portion of it is based on this easily understood principle of returning Sita to Ram at all costs. Pretty big cost also. But it was such a big thing. And what does this represent? Returning. Coming to our senses and understanding that everything that exists is meant for the pleasure of Krishna. The lesson to be learned of how in this Krishna conscious movement, this is our same principle. We're trying to enjoy, like Ravana did, we're trying to enjoy Sita without Ram. We tried Ram, Sita is the goddess of fortune, but we could say everything in this world, all the material energy, etc., Prakriti, belongs to Ram, and in that way the whole process is to return that which belongs to Ram back to him, and to realize it doesn't belong to us. So whether it's Sita or whether it's money or whatever it may be, it belongs to the Lord. So Krishna conscious movement is to do that, practically execute that process, and to realize this also. So by hearing these pastimes, we get free of the illusion of seeing oneself in the center and seeing Krishna in the center. We read the purport. Here in this material world, everyone is envious of someone else. Even in religious life, it is sometimes found that if one devotee is advanced in spiritual activity, other devotees are envious of him. You ever felt like that? I hope not. But maybe. Sometimes we try to find some fault in the other devotee. Religions try to find fault in each other. What to speak of politicians and so many other situations where this takes place. Envy is a very big subject, and sometimes even, activities which is sometimes hard to relate. What, for instance, meat eating sometimes is also considered to be a manifestation of envious mentality, because we want to enjoy another's body. They've got something, I want it. I want to enjoy their body. I don't care what they think. Don't care at all what they think. I just want to enjoy their flesh. This is a very gross form of manifestation of envy of others. Such envious devotees are not completely freed from the bondage of birth and death. There may be an element of that, and of course there will be until we become free of envy. Matsaranam Satam, this Bhagavatam is then relished. Krishna Katha is relished by those who are Nimatsaranam Satam, those who are freed of envy. So this process of hearing attentively hearing the message of Krishna consciousness is emphasized again and again in the third chapter of the Bhagavatam, the last verse. There Sutta Goswami emphasizes, you hear this subject with rapt attention and you will see Krishna or Ramachandra on the pages of this Bhagavatam. But to hear with rapt attention, one has to be pure in mind, and pure in mind means you have to be pure in our eating, sleeping, mating, defending, all of our various activities. So there's a whole Vedic process of bringing eligibility to the hearer. It's not just about, jumping in there, when it's an eligibility to actually hear the subject matter. Everyone may benefit, but to the degree or to the point where one becomes freed of envy, there's an eligibility which goes along with it. You have to hear carefully. Kinvadu adunudinam, the Goswami says that if you hear this subject matter very, very carefully, then the disease will be cured at the root. It's not enough to chop it down on the surface. The root is still in the heart. We have to get the root out. And that glorification of the Supreme Lord is the method. As long as one is not completely free from the calls of birth and death, one cannot enter into the Sanatan Dham, the spiritual or eternal pastimes of the Lord. We may like them, we may hear about them, there may be some process of purification there. Many people make money out of these pastimes. That's very devious. One becomes envious because of being influenced by the designations of the body. But the liberated devotee has nothing to do with the body, and therefore he is completely on the transcendental platform. A devotee is never envious of anyone, even his enemy. So what's the opposite of envy? What's the opposite of envy?
Admiration.
Excuse me?
Admiration.
Yeah, it could be termed as you admire the person.
Glorification.
Pardon?
Glorification.
You could make glory, but there's a process of change. I remember, maybe some of you know Ram Shram Prabhu. He was the husband of Janaki in Leicester at one point in time. And they were in Malaysia. And, of course you never get this problem here in England, but in Malaysia sometimes we had a problem. Sometimes people complained about other devotees. And, this devotee did this devotee did that. Oh, he caused me so many problems. So Ram Shram Prabhu, I was regional secretary, he was temple president, and he was very expert. Oh, really? Oh, aren't they such a nice devotee? Did you know last week, what he did such a nice service last week? He wouldn't even, as if he wasn't even hearing what they were saying, he would just glorify them, talk about their good qualities. That's one way. It may not be the ultimate end to the story, but it certainly is one way. You go for anything else? Compassion, that's a good one. Yeah, we think, a devotee has no enemy. Eh? He's always a well-wisher of all living entities. So many examples of it. Even Ramchandra, he wasn't like he was necessarily hated the Rakshasas or whatever, but is as they say, hate the sin, not the sinner.
Love?
Love, yeah, very good, thank you. What is love is a big topic. What can we say? It's not enough time. But love, when one only thinks of the welfare of the other, it's related to compassion. One only thinks of the welfare of the other person, even if they're trying to kill us or give us difficulty. The heart of a real devotee is he's simply sad to see that they're in a conditioned state. And he really, because he loves Krishna and everyone's a part and parcel of Krishna, a devotee is sad to see that Krishna's parts and parcels are behaving in a way which is not pleasing to Krishna. So he does everything he can to try, like Prabhupada in his prayer Markine Bhagavat Dharma, to please help them to understand this message so that they can become free of their conditioning. Prabhupada goes on, because a devotee is, the devotee knows that the Lord is his supreme protector. He thinks, what harm can a so-called enemy do? So this is nice. Thus the devotee is confident about his protection. The Lord says, Yeyata mam prapajante, tans tataiva bhajamyaham. According to the proportion of one's surrender unto me, I respond accordingly. Reciprocation. A devotee must therefore be completely free from envy, especially of other devotees. To envy other devotees is a great offense of Vaishnava aparad. A devotee who constantly engages in hearing and chanting, Shravana Kirtana, is certainly free from the disease of envy, and thus he becomes eligible to go back home, back to Godhead. Nice. We'll go back now to the PowerPoint, if we can, please. Is it on the screen? Sri Navami? Can someone get it on the screen? We have to go through that whole procedure again. Okay. Radha-Krishna. No, Prabhupada didn't speak very much about Ramayana or Lord Ramchandra in one sense, obviously here and there, but not very concentratedly. So much. But in the 9th Canto of Bhagavatam we have this summary, and on this day we usually talk a little more, but our time is short and I won't have time to talk about much of the pastimes, which are very sweet and extensive. There are so many upa reminds or subsidiary texts. Is it on already? No. On the Ramayana, written by different sages at different times, expanding on the pastimes, explaining the histories behind the pastimes. Just like just now we heard the names, 2 names we heard. Mantara. And some people say Mantara is like almost the most significant person because of her interaction in the pastimes of Lord Ramchandra. The whole Ramayana unfolds, practically speaking. Very significant part to play. Well, they're playing parts. They're not ordinary living entities. And even Mantara appeared in Krishna Lila, as did Surpanaka. And you probably know who they were in Krishna Lila. Who were they? It's interesting. On the board.
It was there.
Huh?
It was there. 1 second.
Pardon?
We had it up 1 second.
Can't hear. They appeared as Kubja. Amazing, huh? Different parts in different pastimes, the different moods sometimes, or a mixture of moods. Kubja had a mixture of moods. She wanted to enjoy. She saw Krishna as the source of her enjoyment, not that she's the source of Krishna's enjoyment. At the same time, just like Surpanaka, she saw Ram as the object of her pleasure. And if anything gets in the way of that, she gets disturbed. So that's one type of mood, and which manifests different degrees. Is it on the board?
Yep.
Yes.
It is. Ramayana? Sri Rama. Okay. We already sung this song, huh? Raghupati Raghava Raja Ram. O Lord Ram, descendant of Raghu, uplifter of the fallen, you and your beloved consort Sita are to be worshipped. Very simple song. Ispatita Bhavana. You see in the Ramayana there's a lot of, in every pastime of the Lord we see this. It's not just an elite group of humans. The Lord is Petit Pavan. He bestows His mercy. That's what we were discussing last night, actually. Animals in Ram Lila. You've seen my book, Animals in Krishna Consciousness, maybe. But there's animals in Ram Lila. Very significant. This picture shows one type of animal. Who's there? Hanuman. And he appeared in the Vanaras. But they're not ordinary Vanaras. They came down, demigods were ordered to take birth in the families of Vanaras, various monkeys, baboons, bears, and so on, who assisted Lord Ramchandra in this amazing pastime. Such a big part of the Ramayana is centered around the Vanaras and the baboons and the monks and the bears and so on, who marched, the army which marched on Lanka. Huge army. Huge army. Can't imagine how many there were. these figures given in Ramayana are inconceivable. Do you know how many? How many frogs in the well have we got here? Any frogs in the well here? I mean, to say we try to measure, it's immeasurable. That which can be measured is called Maya. The army of Ram is immeasurable. Figures are given. When Lord Ravana sent his spy to check out the size of the army of Lord Ram, he came back and gave an estimation of the army using Vedic terminologies. And I did it one time. I wrote down the figures on a piece of paper with a 1 in front, and it filled up the whole page. It was like 1 billion, 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 billion. Something like that. But if that's not inconceivable, nothing is. The width of the bridge going to Lanka, the size of the bridge going to Lanka, you know how big it was? This is the Lord who can do anything. Floating stones on the ocean is child's play for the Lord. How big was it? It was 80 yojana, 120 kilometers wide. Wide. We see these little bridges with people walking across 1 or 2. But the bridge was wide, 80 miles wide. 10 yojanas wide. 120 kilometers, that is. That's quite a distance. 80 miles, what's that? From here to Brighton or something? I don't know. Very wide bridge, because there was quite a few monkeys crossing over it. A lot of monkeys. It's almost inconceivable. It is to mundane minds. Everything about the Lord's pastimes is inconceivable. Let's sing this one. This is from the Dasavatar Stotra. Okay, Shiva, O Lord of the universe, O Lord Hari, who have assumed the form of Ramchandra, all glories to you. In the battle of Lanka, you destroy the 10-headed demon Ravana and distribute his heads as a delightful offering to the presiding deities of the 10 directions. A fate long desired by them all, whom that monster had much harassed. Yes, he distributed it. He wasn't... Sounds funny. Distributing the heads as a delightful offering. Don't be amazing. How many of us... what was I going to ask just now? What did we sing just now? Let's sing this. Vitarasi dikshurane dikpati kamaniyam dashamukha balim ramaniyam keshavadrita Rama Sharira Jaya Jagadisha Hare Jaya Jagadisha Hare Jaya Jagadisha Hare. All together. Vitarasi dikshurane patikamaniya dashamukha balim ramaniyam keshavadita Sharira Jaya Jagadisha Hare Jaya Jagadisha Hare Jaya Jagadisha Hare Jaya Rama Sharira Rama Sharira Rama Sharira Jaya Rama Sharira Jaya Rama Sharira Rama Sharira Rama Sharira Rama Sharira. Here's another verse from the same Bhagavatam 11th chapter. Yashamalam nipasadasu yashodunapi Gayantya gagrinam shayo deg ibendra pattam Tangna Kapala Vasupala Kirita Jushta Padam Bujang Vagupating Shadanam Prapadye. Lord Ramchandra's spotless name and fame, which vanquish all sinful reactions, are celebrated in all directions like the ornamental cloth of the victorious elephant that conquers all directions. Great saintly persons like Markandeya Rishi still glorify his characteristics in the assemblies of great emperors like Maharaj Yudhisthira. Even during the time of Krishna, great rishis would come into the court of Maharaj Yudhisthira and recite Ramayana. Great relished by all the devotees. We may not be directly aspiring for Ram Seva, but devotees relish all the pastimes of the Lord. It's almost a preliminary to Krishna Lila. Ram Lila is very kind of close. The rasas are more extended. We don't have... Madhurya Rasa is very limited there in that pastime. When Ramchandra was... When I was in Chitrakoot, how many of you been to Chitrakoot? Who's been to Chitrakoot? I promise. Who's been to Chitrakoot? Nobody? Nobody? Not even our Indian devotees have been there? Where? You've been, oh good, someone's been to Chitrakoot. Right. A unique place. As you know, Lord Ramchandra, Sita and Lakshman resided there. On the advice of Bharadvaj, they went to Chitrakoot, which is not too far from Vrindavan. It's on the, I think it's on the Godavari, one of these rivers. It's a beautiful place. Very, very sublime atmosphere. And he lived there, he stayed there during his 14 years exile, quite a while. Most of his exile was spent in Chitrakoot, although not so much is said about that time. And at least when I was there with Lokanath Maharaj and others, it was understood that the Lord was relishing, enjoying very confidential relationship with Sita Devi at that time. Not described, not mentioned, very confidential. So that aspect of rasa was there. But generally speaking, we see in Ram Leela, we don't see it so much in other Leelas, a little bit. Maybe in Narayan Leela, I don't think we see it at all, in Lakshmi Narayan, but in Ram Leela we see Vatsalya Bhav. It's quite strong. Parental affection is very strong with Dasarath, Kushalya. Whole Ramayana, again, it grows on this basis of Vatsalya Ras. In terms of Dasarath and Kekeyi, and the interactions, you know what happened there, of course. The enviousness which took place, Mandara awoke the spirit of enviousness in the heart of Kekeyi also, and condemned Ram to exile. So most of his exile was spent, and the result of that, of course, was Dasarath gave up his body. So many things, intensive Vatsalya Ras. The whole of Ayodhya, different relations, but they all became pretty much devastated when Lord Ram left. And then he spent the last period of time, whatever, a year or two, in the forests of Dandakaranya. And there the famous pastimes unfolded more on the surface, more external. You could say pastimes appear to be more external there. And there you have an emphasis there of Dasya Ras is there. Sakya Ras, there's much emphasis of Sakya Ras in Ram Leela, other than Lakshman, but he's also in Dasya Ras. The mixture of rases there is, like Balaram, he also has a bit of Vatsalya Ras, protective nature. He would protect them when they were in the cottage or wherever they were. He would be on guard. He never slept practically. He would stay up constantly, just guarding all the time. It was very amazing manifestation of service. Any friendship there? I mean, Lord Ramchandra made friendship with who? Pardon?
The tribal king, Chandra.
The what? I can't hear.
Nishadraj is the tribal king.
The tribal king in Guha. Guha, yeah, friendly there. He also made a friendly relationship with another king, Sugriva. Yeah. Although, of course, in one sense Sugriva was servant, but it was on the basis, it was also Sakya, it was also friendship, neutrality, and of course all of the other indirect rasas were there, for sure, in the pastimes, but even the direct relationships, we see a manifestation of them there, but not to the degree as we find in Krishna Lila. They're not so complete. By any means, they're not manifest so much, they're not so deep, not so complete. So, but still, more than other pastimes, we see it's close. And to that degree, we see in the Puranas, it describes, I don't know which Purana, that if you chant one name of Ram, is equivalent to
1,000 names.
1,000 names of Vishnu. Now that's quite a lot of names, so it's quite a high, you know. But if you chant one name of Krishna, it's equal to 3 names of Ram. So we can see that it's quite close, but it's still, you know, it's the pastimes, the name, fame, form, pastimes, qualities of Krishna are much sweeter and much more complete. Lord Ramchandra's, we read that, offer my obeisances unto his lotus feet. Now, what to talk about? We have, what is the time? We have maybe 20 minutes or so. I think what I'll do is, it's so long, this presentation, it's 170 slides, we're on number 5. I got all these PowerPoint presentations of different things. This is one which I love. There's no time to go into the pastimes, we won't get beyond the birth of Ram, practically speaking, which itself was very, very unique, as you know. How many persons these days are born out of a pot of nectar? Not many, huh? We may think it's a pot of nectar, but it's not. But in this case, we see this unique birth pastime of Lord Ramchandra into this world. His eternal mother and father is not like an ordinary person comes along. Everything's arranged by the Lord. They're all playing, as we mentioned with Mantara, she's also playing a part. Sometimes it's described in some of the Upanaramayans that actually this was arranged by the demigods. They sent her to create this pastime, to unfold. You know, when Ramchandra was banished, the demigods, those who knew, they were very happy. Sounds like they were envious, doesn't it? Yeah, he got banished. Sometimes we feel like that. God, they're dead, thank God. They've been kicked out. I don't have to worry about them anymore. It doesn't work like that. Don't worry, they'll be there again. But in this case, it's all the part of the plan, because they've been praying to the Lord to do something about Ravana and his family and his team Indrajit and all these powerful Rakshasas who are just tormenting the universe. Tormenting. I mean, Indrajit practically defeated Indra. He got the name, conqueror of Indra, Indrajit. They were very powerful. Ravana had practically no limits. He even insulted. It's interesting, he insulted Nandi, the bull carrier, and he was so proud, he thought he'd go to Kailash, play around, and he insulted, you know. Nandi has appeared before him in the form of a monkey, and he insulted him, get out of my way, monkey. And so Nandi said, okay, in your next lifetime, you will learn, don't insult monkeys, otherwise you're in trouble. And so monkeys appeared to give him trouble. Billions and billions of them. Yeah, he tried to insult Lord Shiva. He tried to shake Mount Kailash because he got a bit of a lesson there and became a worshipper of Lord Shiva, which gave him extra strength. But for a long time he was trapped. His hands were trapped under Mount Kailash. insulted many demigods. Ramba, wife of Malakravara or Manigriva, he raped her. She cursed him, "If you dare approach a woman for sex without her permission, you will die on the spot." So he knew that. He was very cautious in that regards. He killed one great king of Ayodhya, Alanya king. Killed him mercilessly, though he wasn't supposed to. He hadn't done anything wrong. He was just envious of him. He killed him. Great fight. And that king cursed him that next, "You will be killed by a member of my dynasty who had a human form." That's Lord Ramchandra. And of course, most famous probably when he was traveling over the Himalayas, he saw a female ascetic performing great austerities, matted hair, sitting in the valley, and he came closer. He saw that actually she was extremely beautiful. He tried to woo her, and she said, "What are you doing here?" And she was actually meditating on Lord Narayan, Lord Vishnu. She only wanted him as her husband. She was an expansion of the goddess of fortune, and he wanted to enjoy her, as his whole life was based on enjoying the goddess of fortune. All women are expansions in that sense. Not that we should think I'm an expansion, but the very principle of the female form is an expansion of goddess of fortune. So he wanted to enjoy her. He tried to grab her. She had nothing to do with it. He grabbed her hair and she sliced it off with her hand. And then she just disappeared and himself burned herself and disappeared. She said, "I will appear in my next life and I will be the cause of your death." And she appeared as Sita Devi, because actually Sita Devi expands as Vedavati. Many times we hear these pastimes, we wonder how somebody becomes the eternal consort of the Lord, or becomes the eternal parent of the Lord. They're always the eternal parent of the Lord. It doesn't make sense otherwise. But they expand sometimes in various forms, like Yasoda and Nanda and Yasoda's band is Drona and Dara. It's not that Drona and Dara become Yasoda and Nanda. They expand for the pastime as Drona and Dara, and then show the way that we can serve the Lord in that Vatsalya Bhav, how we can become eligible. So much of Ramayana is to become eligible to be able to serve the Lord properly, in the proper relationship. Not just hear about it and remember it. That's nice, but it's not enough. So I was thinking of that, the pastimes. I was thinking of going on to describe the wonderful interaction between Lord Chaitanya and his Ram Bhaktas. In Ram Leela, in Gaur Leela, there are many Ram Bhaktas there. Who can remember some of those Ram Bhaktas? Pardon? Marari Gupta. Wow, that was the one there's some, if you read the Chaitanya Bhagavat, you'll see beautiful, beautiful prayers of Marari Gupta glorifying. Lord Chaitanya asked him, "Recite, please speak." He loved it. He relished it. He tested Marari to the hilt about his chastity. Chastity is a big thing in Ramayana. Morality, these things are very emphasized. So Marari Gupta was so chaste, he couldn't give up his worship of Ramchandra, even though he was in the association, close associate of Lord Chaitanya. He tried to chant Hare Krishna mantra, and he did, but he couldn't. It was like burning. He wanted to give up his life. He said, "What a use? I can't give up my love for Lord Sita Ram. I can't do it." He was eternal, because why? Because Lord Chaitanya said, "You are Hanuman." How can Hanuman give up his worship of Ram? It's impossible. It's his eternal constitution. He's one of the opulences of the Lord. Expansion, you could say, of the Lord's pleasure or service potency. So there's no way he could get it. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was very pleased to see his chastity, and he wrote these beautiful poems, compiled these poems, verses, which are very nice, but we don't have time to read that as well as anything else. Who else was a Ram Bhakta?
Anupam.
Huh? Anupam, the younger brother of Rupkot and Sanatana Goswami. He was a Ram Bhakta too. You don't hear too much about him, but he was a pure devotee of the Lord. Lord Chaitanya confirmed he was a pure devotee of Ram. Who else? Another famous one. Pardon? Yeah, Lord Chaitanya, what in this word? Ramdas Vipra. Very wonderful. When Lord Chaitanya was in South India, he came to the village where Ramdas Vipra was living, and he stayed. Lord Chaitanya took lunch in his house. He went to his house, but he saw that this Ramdas was fasting. He asked him why, and he said, how can I eat when Sita Devi has been touched by that monster Ravana? He was living the pastimes, literally. And what did Lord Chaitanya do? He released him of this fear. What did he do? This is one of the most important points of the Ramayana.
He found was it from the Brahma Samhita? Basically,
not the Brahma Samhita.
No, sorry, he found some
Kurma Purana, sometimes it said Skanda Purana, maybe both. Yes. But first of all, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said to him, how can a person like Ravana, who's so much on the material platform, touch the eternal concept of the Lord? Now this is one of the significant. Then he got confirmed. Lord Chaitanya found this confirmation. Actually, you know what happened. I'm sure many of you know what happened. When Ravana, sent Maricha as the deer to try to entice Sita Devi, which worked in one sense, and then Ramchandra went off after the deer, and the whole pastime was there. And then Maricha, when Lord Ram shot the deer, and Maricha screamed, Lakshman, Lakshman, help, help. And the whole pastime there of Sita and Lakshman, and how Lakshman said, all right, I'm going to go in search of Ram, although I don't believe this is a demon. But anyway, he did, and he said, we hear, at least in most of the lines, we hear that he drew a circle around the hut, around the kutir, and told Sita, don't step outside of this circle, whatever you do. No one can step within it, and you should, as long as you stay within it, you will be safe, you will be protected, like a circle of fire. So when Ravana came, what did he do? Ravana had left the hut, and then Lakshman had left, and then what did Ravana do? He came there in disguise, right? And he looked like some old mendicant or something. Oh, help, help. I'm so hungry and thirsty, please help me. And what happened then? Pardon? What did she do? What happened?
She went to help him.
Sita was hesitant at first to come outside of the circle, and Ravana realized he couldn't cross. There was something, it was like a line, he couldn't cross it. And so then eventually he kind of enticed her, and she crossed the line. And what happens is like that, you have to be very careful. You cross that line, you can easily be captured by the material energy. What happened? She became captured by Ravana, right? He grabbed her, and then the whole story, off he went. Off he went with Sita. So what was it? What did it say in the Purana, in the Skanda Purana or whatever? What did it say? Did he actually kidnap Sita? No. Who did he kidnap? Maya Sita. Where's the real Sita? It's the same. When Lord Brahma stole the calves and cows, he never stole the calves and cows at all. Who's he to touch Krishna's eternal associates? They were Maya cowboys, Maya calves, created by the material energy. They looked the same, but they were not the originals. Same here. So where was Sita?
in the fire.
In the fire?
With Agni Dev.
Pardon?
With Agni.
Yeah, she was. Agni Dev was, for the pastime, gave her protection. And when Sita then, after the great battle was over, and then she was tested, everyone was shocked when she came to, when they brought Sita to Ram, and Ramchandra basically rejected her because she'd been in the house of another. Everyone was so excited, all the monkeys. all others, Bibhishan, everyone's so excited now they're going to be reunited after all this great battle. Then he basically rejects her. He's broken her chastity. She's been in the house of another. How can it be believed she was never, let's say, exploited by that person? You have to test your chastity, so she had to go into the fire. And into the fire went Maya Sita, and Agni then brought out the real Sita from the fire. So he never really touched her at all. We can't touch Krishna with material senses. It's not possible. We can't understand these things with material senses. The senses have to become purified. They have to become purified. So I'm just going to, in the little time we have left, I'm just going to go over, we don't have time for the other two subjects, another subject which is, we could say, some lessons from the Ramayana. We've touched on a few. Can anyone think of another one? Chastity, we mentioned chastity, although we didn't go into the depth of the relevance of it, but we mentioned it briefly. What else? What lessons can we learn from Ramayana, or the pastimes of Ramchandra? Excuse me? Determination? Very nice point. Determination. Determination. I'll read you something, if I can find it like this. Not always easy to find. Okay, maybe. When Hanuman flew over the ocean, right? One group of the monkeys were eventually found, or they found a clue as to where Sita actually was. And they were there on the coast, and they heard, who told them that he was in Lanka, you remember? Huh? Sampati. Who's Sampati? Brother of Jatayu. Old bird. That's a funny story. I mean, I'm not going to tell it. It's such a story, huh? Amazing story. Anyway, eventually Sampati told him, actually, yes, I saw this going on, and this Ravana, he lived in Lanka, an island off the coast, 100 yojanas south of the coast, main coast. A little bit different to present-day Sri Lanka. But anyway, so how are we going to find out for sure? So eventually Hanuman was volunteered, chosen to go there. He had to jump. There were no boats. He had to jump. He had a powerful ability to jump, which at this point of time manifested. And he jumped 100 yojanas, 800 miles across to Lanka. And he was searching very ardently throughout Lanka, studying everything, but nowhere could he find Sita. He was getting a little bit despondent. Couldn't find her anywhere. He went into all the various palaces, everywhere. He couldn't find her. He saw Ravana. Sometimes we get this vision of Ravana being he's a monster by consciousness and can manifest a monstrous form. But he can also manifest an absolutely beautiful form, irresistible form, almost as beautiful as God. And Hanuman had a little difficulty recognizing who's this person. If he had, of course, he'd been hit by Airavata in his chest. There was a scar there, so he could recognize that this is Ravana. Otherwise, he was extremely beautiful. Countless wives trying to imitate Krishna. We also, lifetime after lifetime, we may only have one in this lifetime, but we've had millions of lifetimes and we think they're mine. The same mentality. So Hanuman said, despondency is useless, for it does never cause an action to bear fruit. Indeed, despair is the root of failure. It is as deadly as a poisonous snake. Despondency, giving up. So determination, he cited the person, tremendous determination. Right? An ending. Determinate means not stop. Determinate means to stop. Determination means to negate stopping, not stop. So tremendous determination. What else? You can give many other examples.
Loyalty.
Loyalty. Well, there is the same personality. It could be Lakshman or Hanuman. There's so many who could be given as examples of the importance of loyalty. Very important. We make our vows today. Maybe devotees have already done. One devotee is making their vows today. Loyalty, sticking to one's promise. Lord Ramchandra also sticking to the promise, just like he did when he was exiled, right? He didn't have to do that. He could have easily have not done it. Everyone would have agreed. He didn't have to go. But he stuck. Dasharatha made a promise to Kaikeyi. What was the promise? Pardon?
The 2 boons.
Huh?
I'll grant you the 2 boons whenever you need. The 2 boons?
The 2 boons, yeah. The 2 boons, yeah. Dasharatha given one time when he was fighting, he happened to be with Kaikeyi, who was his favourite queen in many ways. And when on the battlefield he got injured and Kaikeyi helped him and brought him back to consciousness. So he promised her, I would like to give you 2 boons, ask for anything. She said, when I want them, I will ask. So of course, as you know, Mantara was aware of this boons, the promise. So she then took advantage of that, and we know those 2 boons that she requested: banish Ram and make my son king. So, Ramchandra stuck to that. He didn't go against it. The importance of sticking to one's promise is very important. Very important. What else can we learn there?
Devotion.
Devotion is the thread, pure devotional service. That, whether it's pretty much in different varieties of devotional service we've already mentioned, whether it's Sita Deva's devotion, Lakshman's devotion, Hanuman's devotion, Dasara's devotion. They're all devoted. Everyone devoted to Krishna, to Ram. What else can we learn? Anything else?
Adherence to Dharma.
Pardon?
Adherence to Dharma.
Dharma, yeah, very much. Lord Rama was establishing the importance of Dharma, of acting according to one's position in society, not trying to imitate. What else? Let me give you a few because that time is running out here.
When Sita is tolerance.
Tolerance? Give me an example. Pardon?
When Sita Devi was under Ravana's captivity, tolerating the demons, the Rakshasas.
Tolerating because of her total chastity, her total surrender to Lord Ram. If we actually are, the more we're surrendered, tolerance becomes, it's not something we have to impose, it's automatic. And when we have our goal, tolerance is automatic. All these qualities, in fact, manifest in the heart of a pure soul. In regards to her being kept in the Ashok Grove there, and when the battle of Lanka was completed and Ravana was killed by Ram, that's a wonderful pastimes, and Hanuman came there to the Ashok Grove to bring Sita to Ram. What did Hanuman say? Who remembers? What did Hanuman say? There's Sita in the grove, and all these Rakshasas are kind of like, they're finished because their Lord's dead. They lost their very purpose of life practically. So what did Hanuman say? He said to Sita, please allow me to kill all of these Rakshasas. Allow me to kill them. They have caused you so much pain. I want to kill them. What did Sita say? What did she say? Yeah, she said that they're innocent. They were just performing their job, doing what they were told. They're after all, on top of that, they're living in my, I can say home, not exactly, but in my place of residence. And she gave a amazing example. What What example did she give? Do you remember? Sarah never mind. Amazing example. She told a story of a man being chased by a tiger. And naturally, it's not easy to get away from a tiger. But somehow that man managed to, before the tiger got him, he grabbed a branch and pulled himself up into the tree. And in the tree there was a bear. In the tree, sleep on the branch, up in the branch. Oh, the man's up in the branch, up in the tree. The bear's sleeping. Didn't know anything about it. So the clever tiger saw, he escaped. Hey man, look up there, there's a bear above you. You realize when that bear wakes up, he'll probably eat you. Why don't you push the bear out of the tree? And I'll eat the bear and spare you. The man thought this is a good idea. I might save my skin. So he pushed the bear out of the tree. Let's see, enviousness. He pushed the bear out of the tree, and what happened? The bear fell off the branch. But, oh no, just before the bear completely fell, there was the last branch of the tree. The bear woke up and grabbed the last branch. Oh my God, I'm finished. The last branch of the tree, the bear grabbed and pulled itself to safety. And then the clever tiger said, "Hey, bear, you know what just happened? That rascal man tried to push you out of the tree for me to eat. You know what he did just like that? You should immediately push him out of the tree. Okay? And I'll eat him. He deserves to be eaten." The bear said, "Whatever he's done, whoever he is residing in my house. He is my guest. I cannot treat him like that. You have to treat him with hospitality." He wouldn't do it. Because, maybe bears would do more than that. But this is an example. Another example given. When Bibhishan came, when he left Ravana's court, that's another long story, and Bibhishan came to the mainland to join Ram's party. Of course, there was a lot of hesitancy there on behalf of the Vanaras. I mean, Sugriva, Angada, Nila, they were all very hesitant about accepting. He's a Rakshasa. How can we trust a Rakshasa? He's the half-brother of Ravana. We can't trust him. God knows what he'll do. He might be a spy. You know the Trojan horse, they get in there and then when they're in, boom, they blow you apart. Hanuman was saying, well, he's come in a friendly mood, we should give him a go. But they was most of them were very, we should kill him immediately, Sugriva said. Don't take a chance, even if he is good. We shouldn't take the risk. But Ramchandra said no. He's come as in a humble mind, he's come with a submissive mood. So he gave an example too of a hunter who, there was two birds, a male, female. The female bird was in the tree, the male bird was, and he shot the male bird. This hunter shot the male bird, and the female bird was in the tree. So then the hunter was a bit tired, he took rest under the tree. The female bird came to him and said, please, is there anything I wanted to serve him? He said, but the female bird said, I have nothing else to eat except for my body. Please eat my body if you're hungry. So, like King Shibi or something, so this charity, this welfare is so strong. This mood of forgiveness. Lord Chaitanya, Lord Ramachandra talked about the power of forgiveness, and I'm going to finish on this. Is one of the most important things in the Ramayana, and of course that example is given of when Indra took the form of a crow and attacked Sita Devi, biting her breasts. Ram was ready to kill him, but because Indra, the crow, then surrendered at Ram's feet, he forgave her. He forgave him. Forgiving is so important. And so this nice verse here, when one surrenders, the principle of surrender, and how the Lord gives protection. He was willing to forgive anyone. There's a famous verse in the Ramayana, in the Yuddhakand. Sakrideva papanoyas talvasmiti chajayat nachate. Excuse my throat's blocked. Abhayang sarvadatasmai dadamyetad vatang mama. It is my vow that if a person only once seriously surrenders unto me, saying, my dear Lord, from this day I am yours, and prays to me for courage, I shall immediately award courage to that person, and he will always remain safe from that day on. This is also mentioned, I think, in Nectar Devotion, maybe. The Supreme Personality of God, this is my eternal principle. Any living entity takes shelter of me, I award that person freedom from all fear. Even if Ravana were to come here to surrender to me, I would give him all protection. This is equal-minded, non-envious mentality. Okay, well, we're past time, 9:20. We have to move along on many things. If you want to see more, you have to come to South London this evening. We have a projector down there, so we'll try to hook up to that projector and show some of the slides. Ramayana. Shri Ram Navami ki jai. Lord Ramchandra Bhagavan ki jai. Gaur Premanande. I've got about 30 other lessons to learn also from Ramayana, which we haven't mentioned. Maybe 20. There's unending lessons from the Lord's pastimes. It's not just nice pastimes. He's teaching us important lessons to do and not to do. Jai Shri Prabhupada. Hare Krishna, Gaur Premanande. Okay? Finish there? I'm a little bit under the weather at the moment. The weather's nice here, but I've just come from France. When we drove, I don't know what the weather was like here on Friday, but when we drove, it rained non-stop from New Mayapur to Cali. I mean, really heavy rain. Then it cleared up at Cali. So, maybe we're having good weather, I don't know. Been having